Hi, I'm revisiting the T420, this time with an Ivybridge quad-core processor, Coreboot, and 16GB of RAM. So for those that don't know, the T420 was a go-to purchase for an inexpensive laptop for quite some time, but in that category I think it has been superseded by the T440p and now the T480, but I definitely would still recommend it. It was released in 2011 and was often sold quite cheap from companies that were upgrading their laptops, so a lot of them ended up on the used market for quite low prices. It still uses the classic style ThinkPad keyboard and is quite comfortable. And performance-wise, it does not feel dated. So a cool feature is that it has an Ultra Bay, which means you can replace the DVD drive with an additional 2.5-inch hard drive for a total of 3 drives. So, now that that's all covered, why am I building one now? Well, in my case, I had one laying around from a lot auction, and it seemed like a good idea to use it for my DVI KVM switch setup, and Ivybridge quad cores are, well, quite cheap nowadays. Well, at least on AliExpress. So let's play some edited disassembly footage, because due to the flash chip being underneath the magnesium roll cage, you have to completely disassemble the laptop, or at least the bottom half. And this does take more time than the X-series computers, such as the X200 or X230 or X220, which generally had their sweep chip underneath the palm rest. Also note that there is a RAM slot underneath the keyboard, and don't forget to update the BIOS to the latest version because you can't upgrade the EC firmware from Coreboot. So, now let's talk about building a ROM. I was able to find a lot of the binary blobs on this Coreboot wiki article, as well as a VBIOS, but you can extract them yourself. In the past, I used a utility called UEFI tool for obtaining the VGA BIOS, but ifdtool-x will grab everything you need if you're using GFX iNet. Unfortunately though, it seems like you do need a VBIOS to get the T420 to work properly with Ivybridge CPUs, and you also need to make sure to set the proper PCI IDs. In my case, it was 166 instead of the default 126. Other notes for the configuration: it was pretty similar to most of the other Coreboot builds I've done in the past. You need a GBE, a descriptor, a stripped-down ME, and, well, from the output of IFD tool, you can grab all of these, and then you just need some sane configuration options. Well, and after that, you can begin to, well, flash your ROM. So, if you already flashed a working ROM, you can also save some time just by running flash ROM internal, and because of this, I ended up making this testing setup for trying out various different configurations. Essentially, it's just a motherboard where you can attach some hard drives and a LCD panel and keyboard all plugged together. So I ended up spending a bit too much time trying to get grub loading from CBIOS to display a normal resolution instead of just using text mode. Most of the time, a grub configuration with GFX mode equals auto gets the job done, but most of the time I'm not using a VGA BIOS. Either way though, I did end up making a working grub text mode ROM, but in the end I decided to use a more standard CBIOS setup. Coreboot does support multiple payloads, so let's check out some of the other useful secondary payloads. So from CBIOS, if you press escape, you can check out all the boot options. In this case, it's, well, our 32GB mSATA drive, memtest, tint, and VRAM, CUI, and core info. So let's first talk about memtest. It's just a memory testing program you can run from the BIOS, and we'll go through and essentially just make sure all of your RAM is working correctly. Okay, now to the most useful of all the payloads, tint. It is Tetris. So you can actually play Tetris in your BIOS. I think I did this in the first video too, about the T420. Unfortunately, there is some input lag, so it's not exactly the most fun to play in the BIOS. Next is NVRAM CUI, which will just pretty much allow you to mess with some of the Coreboot settings. And one of the more important ones is, well, GFX UMA size. Finally, that brings us to core info, where we can see that the processor is a 3632QM, and it's currently running at about a little over 2 gigahertz, or 2.2 gigahertz. Okay, now to reassemble it. So it actually wasn't too difficult with the hardware maintenance manual. Also, one thing to note before beginning the project is definitely get a screw bit for removing some of the VGA port screws, but what probably helped the most was an inexpensive laptop screw kit I purchased a while back. I did end up having to replace the CMOS battery on this system, and in most of the 20 series laptops I've encountered, they either need a replacement or are very close to the end of life. I'm keeping the privacy screen on this laptop, even though it is a bit more challenging to film, and unfortunately is also a bit glossy. At the end of the build, I encountered another slight issue. I was hoping that the T410 and T420 RAM slots were compatible, but even though the keyboards are swappable, that is not a compatible part, so I guess check FRU numbers. So let's benchmark on Passmark to see how well it does. The T420 is set up on a dock, and Passmark is set to run for 3 passes. This resulted in a respectable score of 5,746, which is pretty decent for a laptop from 2011. Moving on, some might be wondering, what if you wanted to upgrade the T420 even more? Well, there are some great screen mods. One uses a better TN panel from either an Alienware or a X1 Carbon, but since I like the privacy screen on my system, I'm probably going to leave it as is. Also, the screen resolution on the T420 originally came with 1600 by 900 or 1366 by 768. And if you're purchasing a T420, you might want to keep a lookout for that because the internals on the lids are different. So even if you're planning on swapping the panel later, you have to keep that as a consideration. There are also some screen mods that borrow a DisplayPort lane, and with that you can get 1920 by 1080 or even higher resolutions. But for screen mods, I guess this mostly covers it. So let's move on to one more modification, which is you can get a 4th hard drive with an express card to NVMe adapter. And it's even bootable. So, final notes, since Grub works as a payload, you can go with full disk encryption, which includes the boot partition. But I think for now though, I'm just going to add a proper installation on a larger 2.5 inch solid state drive and use the Ultra Bay for a larger mechanical drive. I will keep the 32 gigabyte mSATA installation. I might use it for live streaming, but I'm not really sure. So, in conclusion, I hope everyone enjoyed the video. And on a side tangent, because my normal camera is having issues, this video was filmed on a camcorder that's about as old as the T420. So, peace and have a good one.